Some places don't just look haunted, they are haunted. We're talking about eerie ruins where shadows move on their own, abandoned towns where time stands still, and forests so unsettling even the birds refuse to sing. These aren't your run-of-the-mill ghost stories or staged horror attractions. No, these locations are as real as the goosebumps creeping up your arms. Some have histories so chilling they make horror movies look tame. Others? Well, let's just say the people who dared to spend the night often leave with stories they wish weren't true. Ready to explore 15 of the creepiest places on Earth? Just don't blame us if you start sleeping with the lights on. Number 15. Screaming Tunnel, Canada. Some tunnels lead somewhere. This one, straight into nightmare fuel. Beneath the railway tracks connecting Toronto to New York lies Ontario's infamous Screaming Tunnel, a passage as unsettling as its name. The legend? Over a century ago, a farmhouse near the tunnel caught fire. A young girl, engulfed in flames, ran toward the tunnel, desperate for salvation. She never made it. To this day, those who dare to strike a match inside the tunnel swear they hear her tortured screams, ricocheting off the damp, crumbling walls. Some say the flame is always snuffed out by an unseen force. The tunnel itself is claustrophobic, its eerie silence heavier than the stone surrounding it. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and the plain curious keep testing the legend. But whether they admit it or not, nobody walks through this tunnel without feeling watched. Number 14. Tat Tak School, Hong Kong. Abandoned schools are already unnerving, but Tat Tak School takes terror to the next level. Nestled in the hills of Hong Kong's new territories, this crumbling structure is infamous for its ghostly reputation. The land itself has a dark past, allegedly the site of brutal World War II massacres. But the school's own history is equally grim. Locals say a female teacher took her own life on the grounds, and her restless spirit never left. Cab drivers refuse to drive past after dark, claiming their engines stall or ghostly figures appear in their rearview mirrors. Visitors report an oppressive atmosphere, sudden temperature drops, and the feeling of being watched through shattered windows. Some swear they've seen a woman in red, a common omen of death in Chinese folklore, standing near the entrance before disappearing. The school has been abandoned for decades, but the stories? Well, let's say, they're only getting stronger. Number 13. Larnac Castle, New Zealand. Owning a castle should be a dream, except when that castle refuses to let go of its ghosts. Perched on a hill overlooking Dunedin, Larnac Castle is as beautiful as it is haunted. William Larnac built this lavish estate in the late 1800s, only for his life to spiral into tragedy. His beloved daughter, Kate, died of typhoid at just 26, and his personal life unraveled into financial ruin and betrayal. Eventually, Larnac died by suicide inside New Zealand's Parliament building. But his story didn't end there. Visitors report ghostly whispers in the grand ballroom, Kate's favorite room, along with icy touches and an overwhelming sense of unease. Some say William himself still roams the halls, his regrets echoing in the shadows. Paranormal investigators have captured unexplained phenomena, and brave guests can even stay overnight. But be warned, Larnac Castle's ghosts don't just haunt, it feels like they watch. We just warned you, but do whatever you like and love. Number 12. Starrick Building, Memphis. This location reminds us that nothing lasts forever. Once the shining queen of Memphis, the Starrick Building was a vision of power when it opened in 1930. At 365 feet, it wasn't just Tennessee's tallest skyscraper, it was a statement. Gothic spires, a green-tiled roof, and a lobby so opulent it supposedly rivaled the beauty of a Moorish castle. For years, it thrived, housing everything from a bank to a beauty parlor. The top floor even boasted the prestigious Regency Room restaurant, offering sweeping city views. Then, time happened. By the 1960s, modern skyscrapers stole the spotlight, and despite multiple attempts to revive it, the Starrick just couldn't keep up. By the mid-80s, it was a ghost of its former self, abandoned, boarded up, and left to rot. Now, it looms over Memphis like a forgotten relic, its once grand facade crumbling, its insides dark and empty. Listed as a historic landmark, sure, but alive? Not even close. Number 11. Book Tower, Detroit. Detroit's Book Tower is proof that even a bad idea can be beautiful. Built in 1926 by architect Louis Camper, this 36-story skyscraper was meant to be a masterpiece. Instead, it turned into a chaotic mix of Corinthian columns, carved Renaissance-style figures, and decorative flourishes so over the top that critics compared it to an over-iced wedding cake. While everything about it is shocking, but real kicker, Camper forgot to include a fire escape. A clunky one was added later, only making the building's already odd design even stranger. Despite its quirks, Book Tower held on for decades, until Detroit's decline caught up with it. By 2010, its owner owed $87,000 in unpaid electricity bills, and the last tenants were forced to flee. Today, restoration efforts come and go, but the tower remains stuck in limbo. Too grand to demolish, too strange to fully embrace. A monument to ambition, excess, and the fine line between brilliance and disaster. Number 10. Torre Insignia, Mexico City. Some buildings refuse to be forgotten. Torre Insignia is one of them. When it opened in 1962, this 417-foot triangular skyscraper was a modern marvel. Home to Bonobra's Bank, it also housed the world's tallest Carillon Bell Tower, a gift from Belgium that once rang out across Mexico City. But location is everything, and Torre Insignia had the worst kind, right in an earthquake zone. Although built to withstand tremors up to an 8.5 magnitude, the devastating 1985 earthquake sent shockwaves through the city's infrastructure. Businesses bailed, and despite surviving multiple quakes, the building itself became a symbol of uncertainty. It has been remodeled, sold, and rebranded, yet it remains empty, an architectural orphan waiting for purpose. Standing against the skyline like a stubborn ghost, Torre Insignia is both a reminder of what was and a question mark of what could be. Would you like to visit this place? Well, let us know. Number 9. Partenon de Zihuatanejo, Mexico. If unchecked corruption had a headquarters, it would be the Partenon de Zihuatanejo. Built in the late 1970s by Mexico's most infamous police chief, Arturo El Negro Durazo Moreno, this wasn't just a mansion, it was an empire. On a government salary of less than $1,000 a month, Durazo somehow amassed a Greco-Roman palace, complete with marble columns, oceanfront balconies, and secret tunnels leading to the beach. But the extravagance didn't stop there. The estate included a tiger cage, a crocodile pit, and an army of guard dogs. Durazo, like all villains, eventually fell. Arrested and sentenced to 16 years in prison, he served 6. His paradise, however, was left to rot. Today, nature is reclaiming it. The once luxurious estate is now a crumbling ruin, a symbol of greed that got too big, too bold, and ultimately, too doomed to last. Number 8. Haludovo Palace Hotel, Croatia. The Haludovo Palace Hotel is what happens when luxury meets bad luck, and let's say this one is a bit more creepy. Built in 1971 on the Croatian island of Krk, it was a dreamland for the rich penthouse suites, seaside casinos, and even a multi-million-dollar investment from Penthouse magazine's founder, Bob Guccione. For a while, it thrived. Then, Yugoslavia fell apart. The war killed tourism, and by the early 2000s, Haludovo was done for. Now, its once glamorous halls are filled with shattered glass, crumbling walls, and graffiti-covered pools that haven't seen water in decades. The contrast is surreal. Lavish chandeliers still hang in some rooms, while others are open to the elements, their ceilings collapsed. Despite its decay, visitors still sneak in, drawn by its eerie beauty. The Haludovo Palace might be dead, but its ghost is very much alive. Number 7. Sathorn Unique, Bangkok. Bangkok's Sathorn Unique is proof that sometimes buildings can be cursed. Meant to be a 49-story luxury apartment tower, it was set to redefine Thailand's skyline in the 1990s, until the 1997 Asian financial crisis hit. Construction halted overnight, leaving the unfinished behemoth to rot. Now, it's known as the Ghost Tower. Its skeletal frame looms over the city, wrapped in vines and dust. Inside, eerie remnants remain, unfinished floors, working light switches, even furniture left as if the workers just walked away one day and never returned. Locals believe it's haunted, and honestly, it might be. Wild dogs roam the lower levels, open elevator shafts plunge into darkness, and a Buddhist shrine sits in the lobby to ward off spirits. Whether it's the supernatural or just the sheer sense of decay, something about Sathorn Unique feels wrong. Number 6. Fern Hill Hotel, India. Most haunted locations build their legends over time. Fern Hill Hotel did it overnight. During the filming of the Bollywood horror movie Raz, renowned choreographer Saroj Khan and her team were startled awake by the sound of heavy furniture scraping across the floor above them. Frustrated, they called reception, only to find the phone line dead. The next morning, they complained, expecting an apology. Instead, they got a chilling revelation. There was no upper floor. This wasn't a one-time scare. Guests and staff have long reported whispers in empty hallways, flickering lights, and sudden icy drafts. Some claim to hear phantom footsteps pacing above them at night. As the eerie occurrences piled up, the hotel eventually shut down. But its legend hasn't faded. Ghost hunters and thrill seekers still venture to its abandoned remains, hoping to uncover the truth behind one of India's most terrifying supernatural mysteries. Number 5. Monte Cristo Homestead, Australia. If houses carried the weight of their past, Monte Cristo Homestead would collapse under it. This Victorian mansion in New South Wales is considered Australia's most haunted home, thanks to a history steeped in tragedy. The terror starts with Mrs. Crawley, the home's original owner. After her husband's death, she locked herself away for 23 years, rarely stepping outside. When she finally passed, visitors claimed she never really left. Guests report seeing her spectral figure peering from windows, hearing disembodied whispers, and feeling an unseen force in her old bedroom. But she's not alone. The estate has witnessed disturbing deaths. A stable boy set on fire, a maid who mysteriously fell from a balcony, and a mentally ill servant chained up in the basement for years. The creepiest sighting? A floating, bodiless figure drifting through the halls. Spend a night here, and you might leave with more than just a story. Now, let's head over to Number 4. Arrowdale Lunatic Asylum, Australia. An abandoned mental asylum is already nightmare fuel. Arrowdale takes it to another level. Opened in 1867, this Victorian-era asylum housed thousands of patients, many of whom never left, at least not alive. Lobotomies, electroshock therapy, and other brutal treatments were routine here, leaving behind a thick energy of suffering. Today, the asylum is a magnet for paranormal investigators, and the encounters are bone-chilling. Shadowy figures appear in doorways, ghostly footsteps echo down empty halls, and some visitors claim they suddenly can't breathe. The most famous spirit? Nurse Carrie, said to patrol the women's wing, appearing as a dark figure or an unseen force brushing against guests. Then there's old Margaret, a former patient forced to leave when the asylum shut down. Many believe she never actually did. Tours are still available, but fair warning. People report an overwhelming sense of dread just stepping inside. Number 3. Highgate Cemetery, England. Graveyards are unsettling, but Highgate Cemetery makes them feel outright cursed. Established in 1839, this sprawling Gothic necropolis is the final resting place of over 170,000 souls, and not all of them are at peace. The most infamous legend? The Highgate Vampire. Described as a towering red-eyed figure in a flowing black coat, this specter is said to freeze time and plunge the air into unnatural cold. The hysteria reached its peak in the 1970s when mutilated, blood-drained animal corpses began appearing around the cemetery. Then came the real horror. A woman's charred, decapitated body was found within its grounds. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and self-proclaimed vampire hunters have all flocked to Highgate, reporting eerie whispers, shadowy figures, and the distinct feeling of being watched. Whether it's a vampire or something worse, one thing is certain: Highgate Cemetery is anything but a peaceful resting place. Number 2. Mary King's Close, Scotland. Beneath the cobbled streets of Edinburgh lies Mary King's Close, a time capsule of death and despair. Once a thriving neighborhood, it was sealed off during the 1645 plague, entombing many infected residents inside. The centuries have passed, but their presence lingers. Visitors report hearing ghostly coughing, footsteps, and whispered voices echoing through the narrow, dimly lit passageways. The most famous spirit? Annie, a young girl said to have been abandoned here during the plague. Paranormal investigators claim she still roams the close, crying for her lost doll. Moved by the story, visitors now leave toys in her room as offerings. Other apparitions include a woman in black lurking in the shadows and an elderly figure who vanishes into thin air. Tour guides warn that certain spots feel inexplicably wrong. Step inside, and you just might feel an icy touch brush against your skin. Number 1. Akershus Castle, Norway. Norway's Akershus Castle isn't just an ancient fortress. It's a fortress of fear. Built in the 13th century, this medieval stronghold has seen everything from bloody Viking sieges to Nazi occupation. The result? An unsettling energy that never faded. One of the castle's most terrifying legends is the Malkanison, a spectral black dog that guards the grounds. According to lore, anyone who sees it is doomed to die shortly after. Then there's the robed woman, a ghostly apparition seen wandering the halls, her face hidden beneath her hood. Visitors often report shadowy figures lurking in doorways, icy cold drafts with no source, and whispers that vanish the second you turn around. Some even claim the castle itself feels like it's watching. Skeptic or believer, one thing's certain: Akershus Castle doesn't just house history, it houses something else entirely. If you found this video joyful, please smack that like and subscribe button for more awesome content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon in the next one.